Hi there. Welcome to Using Seesaw for Virtual Teaching and Learning. We're so excited to have you here with us this afternoon. My name is Kathy Hobart. I am an instructional technology specialist, and I have my co-host Althea Brown with me today. Althea, we're so glad to have you here. Althea is going to kind of manage the chat and handle the waiting room, so I really appreciate having her here. So let's start with our goals for today. So today we're going to be learning about how to package lessons into Seesaw using those district resources from the instructional planning guides. And we're going to use how to learn how to combine those with the features within Seesaw to really package and deliver full, robust lessons for virtual teaching and learning. We'll also take a look at some other ways to develop content like screencasting and recording lessons and pulling those into our Seesaw activities. Then we'll look at some other resources that we can use to deliver content to students. Expectations for our next hour and a half we're going to spend together. So I do want to make you aware that we have lots of learning opportunities coming up for you in our department. So take a look at Eduphoria for some of those coming up. While we are going through the presentation, I do want to ask you that you keep your microphone muted just to limit background noise. If you'll hover towards the bottom of your Zoom window and open your chat window, Althea is going to kind of keep an eye on that. And she may just respond to you within the chat. But I'll pause periodically during the presentation too to stop and answer questions. At the end of the presentation, I will be giving you a link to a form, and you'll be filling that form out for credit, but it also serves a couple different purposes. So the form is really simple, 5 questions. I just want to know who you are, what campus you're from, but I'm also going to ask you for any additional questions you have and what other things you need some training and support on. And that's really critical because we're looking at that in my department to really kind of develop training plans and PD plans moving forward for how we can support you in this new environment that we find ourselves in. Also, when you submit that Google form, the link to today's slide deck will be posted on the response page. So once you hit submit, you go to that page, you'll see that link. If you just click that link, you can go ahead and open up the slide deck and then save a copy of it to your drive. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and take a look first at the kind of the anatomy of a Seesaw activity. So like I mentioned previously, activities were developed as a way for me to have students demonstrate and apply with the content I'm teaching, but the format of the activity is really set up beautifully for virtual teaching and learning. So I have a place that I can park direct instruction. I have a place for kids to independently practice the skills and concepts. I'm able to include a title, written directions, even audio recorded directions to support my young learners. I'm also able to utilize those icons to make it more visually friendly for pre-readers and early readers to really support them. So we're going to take a look at kind of what that looks like in the activity view. So whether I'm going into Seesaw and I'm finding an activity that's already there and I'm editing it, or I'm creating an activity from the ground up, all activities in Seesaw follow this format. And so it's really important to kind of understand what needs to go where, because it really, like I said, it provides you all the places that you need to really develop a robust, virtual teaching and virtual learning activity for students. So your title, of course, goes up here, and we really encourage you to put the date in your titles just for organization purposes, so families that are hopping in know when that should be done. Your written directions will go here, and I'm going to share a link in our presentation today that'll show you, it's like the icon shortcuts, how you will type those. So when you publish the activity, it'll change the words into those little icons. Your voice instructions go here. I really encourage you, even for second and third graders, to record your voice instructions. So this voice instruction is for your overall activity. So it's just another support to make things as clear as we possibly can. If you happen to go to the activity library and you find an activity that already has another teacher's voice recording on it, next to this section, you'll see the little recording thing, and there'll be a trash can. It's very easy to delete that teacher's recording and record your own voice, because your kids really want to hear your voice on there. So I really encourage you to do that. This little box that you see the squiggly line pointing on, this is the really important part that I want you to really make sure that you have a firm understanding. So the multimedia instructions are example, that's where we're going to park our direct instruction. So that's where the teaching piece goes in the lesson. And then the independent practice is going to be down here in the student template. So the template for student responses is where they're going to apply and work with the skills that you're teaching them. Any questions so far on that, Althea? Are we good to go?
We're good to go.
All right, right on. All right, so anytime in Seesaw, and actually let me flip back to that one. So anytime in Seesaw that you see this little plus symbol that I'm pointing at, that is an indication that you have the creative tools available to you. So whether I'm clicking here or I'm clicking here or I'm creating an announcement to families, anytime I see that plus in Seesaw, that means that I have the creative canvas available to me. When I say creative canvas, this is what I mean. So when I click that plus, this option pops up for me, and I've got all different ways that I can add things into Seesaw. So we're going to take a look at some of the different ways to use some of these today and how to use some of these tools to pull in some of that IPG content. So the first one that you saw on the canvas was add a photo. So I can, if I just go straight to the photo tool, I can take a picture of something, but then I can use the other tools on top of it. So I can add text to it. I can record my voice and explain something. But if I go directly to photo, that's pretty much like one photo, and then I can, build from there. The other thing I can do is I can do a straight up video. So if you go straight to the video option, you get a 5-minute video window, but I can actually create, if I go straight to the video icon, I can create one 5-minute video. We have kind of a workaround where you can include more videos in your work, and we're going to look at that as we move on. The next way that you can add things is by adding a link. So this is a really great one to use in the multimedia portion of the activity. So if you've got a link to a video, or you took a slide deck and you put it in publish mode, or you took a slide deck and you did a screencast lesson where you recorded yourself teaching it, those are all things that you can insert into the multimedia section as a link. So those are great tools. You really can get more bang for your buck though using the drawing tool and the upload tool. So the drawing tool allows you to have a multi-page space. So you can have up to a lesson that's up to 20 pages. You probably don't want to go up to 20, but it gives you more room. And when you select the drawing tool, in that multi-page space, you can add photos, you can add videos, you can add text, you can record yourself. So that is really going to give you the ability to build a more meaty lesson for kids. The other one is where you're going to upload things. So if I can upload things from Drive, I can upload PDFs, and when those come into Seesaw, they actually pull them into individual pages, and then I can use the tools on top of it. So I can insert a video of me teaching something next to it. I can record my voice on top of it. I can do just all sorts of cool things, which we'll get in and look at. So using these two options really are going to allow you to build and develop on a lesson. And like I said, you've got lots of tools that you can add on top just to make it a little bit more meaty. So what we're going to focus on today is how do we kind of take what's on the IPGs and put that into a Seesaw activity. So we want to use that curriculum content, but we're going to look at how do we take it and move it from the IPG format into a Seesaw lesson. So here's some things to look for. When you're taking a look at your IPGs, things that are super easy to just pull right into Seesaw are anything that you can get a link for. So like here we have a Jack Hartman video. I can click this video and get the link to the video, and I can add that as my multimedia instructions, or I can create a drawing, start with a drawing canvas and add a video and build on top of it. So links are really handy to resources to have, even links to things like Starfall. Also, if you have anything that you can download or add to your drive, those are also great resources for you to grab. So PDF or Drive files, we can also pull those in and teach on top of them in the multimedia section of the activity. So those are really great things to look for. So a couple other things. I'm going to pause there, and we're going to actually hop on over to an IPG and take a look. So I went into first grade and looked at their math routines, addition and subtraction to 10 unit, and I pulled up a lesson called Separate Problems. And so as I'm scrolling through, I'm kind of reading through the lesson and seeing what they need to do. And I noticed that it says to go through these slides. And I pulled open the slides and took a look at it. And I thought, hey, this is something that I could pull into Seesaw and teach on top of. So right now this is linked in a view only mode. And I can go ahead and make a copy. And I do want it to make a copy so I can pull it into my Seesaw. So I need to change the sharing permission so I can grab it and add it into my Seesaw. So I'm just making a copy of the original and adding it to my drive. And we will just put it right there. And then I'm going to show you how to hop into Seesaw and do that while that's loading up. So hopefully at this point in the year, you've had some experience with Seesaw. And sorry, my computer's tired, I guess. So you've had some activity or some experience going to the activity library, finding activities. So we're going to look at kind of building an activity from the ground up. But of course, if you had found an activity that kind of worked well with this TEK or skill, you could just go in and edit. So you can either way. So I'm going to go to assign activity, and we're going to look at kind of building from scratch. So on my library, when I land on my library, I'm going to go to create new activity, and there's that anatomy that we talked about a little bit earlier. So we want to go ahead and pull in that multimedia instruction. So this was actually the lesson part, and so I can go ahead and make sure this is shareable. This is the copy that I made. And any day now. And we're going to actually pull this in and then kind of build from it. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to anyone with a link so I can pull it into my Seesaw. And done. And then back here on my Seesaw, I'm going to go ahead and let's do upload. So we're going to pull it into our drive, and then we're going to add to it. So this is a first grade lesson. So more than likely my students are not proficient readers at this point. So this was copy as separate. And so I actually want to kind of deliver some instruction with this. So what I'm going to do is actually record right here on top of this lesson. So I do want you to be familiar with a couple different things. So this is the multimedia portion of the activities. So this is the part where I'm just doing the teaching. So I'm not needing the kids to do anything on top of it. If I'm working in the student template, I wouldn't want to record the way I'm about to show you, because it makes the what's on these slides they can't interact with it. So this is a way that I would record if I'm just delivering the instruction. So if I tap the little microphone here, I can go ahead and introduce the topic. We're going to learn about separating results, and I can click through the slides. We have 7 bees here, and 4 are going to fly away. 3 are going to fly away. How many are left? You know, on and on. So it's actually recording me as I'm moving through the lesson. So once I've finished that, I've got pretty much 5 minutes to work through this lesson of recording, and you can see I'm only at 25 seconds now. When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and click done, and it's going to package it together in kind of a video for me. So it leaves these down here, but the kids can land here on this first one and listen to the instructional. So that is one way just to pull something in easy and just take 5 minutes to kind of explain a concept on it. Althea, let's do a check-in. Do we have anything else? Any questions that have come up so far?
Yes, we do have a question. I have linked Discovery Ed videos into Seesaw lessons. I instructed parents to open the Discovery Ed app first, then click the link. Parents still had problems accessing the video. Thoughts? Also, parents have said that they do not have all of the learning apps that I have on my LaunchPad. How do I know which apps parents have so I can use them in my lessons?
Those are both great questions. So part of, you're absolutely right. So if students if you link a Discovery Ed into the multimedia, the students are going to need to go to Launchpad. So they're in Seesaw, they see the activity. They're going to need to open Launchpad as well and open Discovery Ed all the way, and then come back to Seesaw and click the link before that's going to take them. Is that not happening? Are they going through that process and that's not happening? Practicing my wait time. Althea, are they responding?
They are not.
Okay. So if that's not happening, I would say, reach out to your ITS. We can, communicate with the, the library services and the people that handle Launchpad to see what's going on with that. But that is how it's supposed to be to work, how it's supposed to set up to supposed to work. Kids have to actually authenticate, which means they have to actually go into Launchpad or ClassLink and go into the app so they know that they are a licensed user before the link should work. And I know it's a little tricky, but I do have a help video for you in today's presentation. As far as the Launchpad apps, what I would probably recommend is, and I do this a lot on my iPad if I'm testing a student, is just go to the ClassLink app on my iPad and sign in as the student so I can see what's on their Launchpad. And if you're missing things, there are some different ways that you can have, go to add apps to their Launchpad, or if it's the grade level, that's missing certain apps, we can put in tickets with Joette Rios to get some apps pushed out for your grade level to make it a little bit easier, I believe. Hopefully that.
And then there was a question that said the same for Brain Pop.
Yes. As far as I know, both of those, as long as you authenticate, they should be taking you into the activity.
Yeah. And I did have Brain Pop, believe it or not. I think we did the first week of school, and I showed the parent that video that shows how to go to those embedded links, and they were able to get to it.
Okay, good.
And
so
we did do a share screen, so it did work for them.
Right. And the video that I'm going to share with you guys today, it's one that it's on our YouTube channel, so you can actually, post it in your Seesaw class or attach it to an activity to show parents like how to help support their learners get to that, or so your kids even know how to do it, because it is a little bit tricky. All right. Anything else before we roll on?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right, so basically what we've done is just taken a slide deck from the IPG and we've created instructional lessons. So just like you would do in your physical classroom, you probably would have pulled that up on the smartboard and stood up there and talked through the lesson with the kids. So we just took that and put it into a virtual format. Here are my instructions. I will show you one thing I like to do, because when the activity is published, this is going to be kind of living on the side. And so I like to do the emoji keyboard, which is the Windows P, or the Windows period, I'm sorry, on my keyboard. And if I type the word that I want, I can get a little pointy finger. And I will do click here for the lesson, just to kind of give kids some direction. And then when you're putting those words in that you want to have switch to the icons, and again, we're going to share the resource for this, is you will type the colons around the word. And when you publish the activity, it knows to switch that word to the icon. So again, we'll give you a resource there. So we've put in the instructional element, and I'm going to hop back over here to my IPG and look at the next part of the lesson. So we were going to go through the slides, talk about reinforcing the action of separating, the vocabulary, and then the students were going to work in pairs with this problem set. Have these pairs act out the problems, make sure to encourage the use of vocabulary. Okay, so we want to take these problems probably, and we want to package them into our Seesaw activity as the student template portion. So let's take a look at a way to do this. So I'm going to go to my Seesaw activity now, and this is the lesson. Now we're going to work on the student part, so what they're going to do. So I could, if I just uploaded that sheet, all the kids could really do is work on top of it. And what I want to do is really give them some space to work the problems out and maybe explain their thinking. So this is where I talked with you about, you get a lot of more bang for your buck with a drawing tool. So I'm going to come back over to my separate, and I'm going to use my snipping tool for this one. So I love the snipping tool. As you can tell, I just snipped something a little earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and use my snipping tool to grab these little problems to put on a page. So I'm going to just grab it, right click, copy, and then the right click paste doesn't work in Seesaw, but the keyboard shortcut Control V does. So this is going to pull this in for me, and I'm going to go ahead and put that up there. And then this time I'm going to show you another way to record. So I'll actually show you two. I'm going to duplicate this page. All right, so I could record a video. So again, I'm working with young learners that need some reading support. So I'm going to go to, my camera, and I'm actually going to do video, and I'm going to need to turn off my Zoom video for this to work. So I'm going to go to video, and I'm actually going to record myself reading that problem aloud. And I don't know what it said, but there were 5 cats and 3 cats jumped out of the tree. How many cats were left? Show your work. So that's going to kind of package up this little video for me. And now I can actually size myself down and move myself wherever I need it to be. So I read the problem to the kids, and then they're going to use the drawing tools to act it out. Another idea is I can go to grab an image. So I'm going to go to Google, and we're going to actually search for an image that I can grab and put in. So cat PNG, and we'll look for just a cat that we can use, and we'll just copy and then take him back to Seesaw and paste him. And when he comes in, I can actually size him down, click his 3 dots, and duplicate as I need if I need to add additional cats. So I could leave this, and have the kids just draw and solve the problem, or I can go ahead and bring other images in by just copying and pasting them into the image. So that's one way that we could go ahead and, add that the video instruction. I will show you another way that I saw the other day. So for this one, we're going to make this kind of big, because we're going to actually make this card kind of a talking card instead. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and do the record, because I don't want my face on the video. I just want to record on top of this. So I'm going to go record. A pet store had 7 cats. The store sold 3 cats. How many cats are left? When I hit done, it's going to put that together as a video for me. And now I can actually squeeze this down, make it however small I need it, and Control C to copy. And I could just get rid of that back one. And the card is now a read aloud to them. So now the card can just sit there. They listen to the story on the card, and then they solve the problem on the template here. So if I'm going back to my IPG, I would just snip and read each problem that I wanted the kids to solve. I also can, a couple other things that are available to you here that you can use are your background. You can pick different color backgrounds to put behind your information. And there's actually, I went a little fast, but there's actually handwriting paper and also graphing paper and all that good stuff down there. And they also have hidden down here the shapes. So your shapes you can just pull out. And then anytime in Seesaw that you see those 3 dots, that's a secret hidden menu. So you can click that. And then I have the ability to change the style. I can use my color slider to change the color. I can move it from the front to back. I can even insert a link into this image. If I wanted to drive the kids to like a practice activity or a video or something like that, I can insert the link in the shape. I can lock it down so if it doesn't move, like I probably don't want them moving this problem around. So that's one that I would click lock. And now when the kids are working, they can't move that around. So I think lock and the duplicate, which I showed you a minute ago. So I can duplicate if I need more of that object. So that was a lot pretty fast. Let's do a check-in for questions again. Anything come up, Althea?
No questions, but maybe just a tip that to get to the snipping tool, a quick way is to shift Windows S.
Oh, nice. I love shortcuts. So good to know. So we've done our title, very short instructions, which of course I would add to. I would add my voice. The kids are going to come here and then go to my template to do the activity. So of course, if I was actually delivering this lesson, I would build, take a little time to build this. So when you first start building activities, and I do just want to give you kind of a word of caution. Number one, divide and conquer. So, if you plan math, maybe you create the math activities and someone else on your team does the science, maybe have them create some of the science activities. So definitely divide and conquer. But number two, when you first start building activities, it's a little time consuming when you, just like when you learn anything new, but the more you practice, the faster you get at it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one because we're going to go in and look at some other ways that we can capture content. So now that my activity is published, I've got the teaching part, the student practice part, and it's all come directly from my instructional planning guide content that I need to grab.
So Kathy, we do have one more question. Where would you put the next problem?
Oh, good question. I'm glad that you brought that up. So I'm going to go back into my activity and edit. So remember, when you're working in the drawing tool, I can go ahead and duplicate or add pages down here. So if I add the next page, I've got that next space to work on. And then for the following problem, same thing. Does that help? Or should I walk through the snipping and putting it in again?
It helps, thank you.
Okay, all right, awesome. All right, anything else before we roll on?
That's all I see.
All right, cool. So the snipping tool is really a great tool to grab content from anywhere. So if you're grabbing things from the web, you can do, of course, look for copyright-free images or royalty-free images. But if you're taking instructional content, instead of having to always download it and try to figure out how to get those pieces in there, we can just take those snips and then pull those in as images. So the right click to copy and then Control V to paste it onto the canvas is really makes it pretty easy. The other really cool tool that I wanted to share with you today is the Seesaw reflection extension. So this was actually developed as a way for kids to pull content from the web into Seesaw to then work on top of and explain their thinking. But it's also a great tool for us to use as teachers. So I'll show you kind of what this looks like. So you do need to be actually in editing mode of the activity before you do this. So I'm going to go back to, I don't know if there's anything else really on this lesson, but I'll just kind of show you with this. And this is you can use this on anything that you can open up in a Chrome browser. So you should have up on your browser tab the Post to Seesaw extension. If you don't see it, you can actually go to, and let me come over here to do this. Over here on the left is your App Store, and you can go to Web Store and look up the Seesaw extension if you don't have it, but it's pretty big time saver if you want to make sure you grab it. So I'm going to just type Seesaw. Reflect in Seesaw. If you don't have it, it'll say add to Chrome. And basically what extensions are things that help you have additional functionality when you're using the Chrome browser. So they live up here at the top. If you don't see your extensions, if you click over here and go to more tools, you can find your entire extension list. But they actually just offer additional functionality. So like my Bitmoji, that's how I access my Bitmoji, Screencastify, just different things that I can do to add to what I'm doing on the web. So if I hop back to because I'm on the web, we're gonna and you could do, like I said, you can do this in any Chrome tab. So I'm gonna click my extension And it's going to ask me, do you want to capture a visible area or the selected area? So the visible area is, do you want me to capture everything on the screen? No, I don't want everything on the screen. I'd like to just do a selected area. So then I'm going to drag and select whatever I want to do. And it's actually going to pull it right into Seesaw for me. So it's kind of like the snipping tool amped up. So you could go as big or as small as you want, but if you're grabbing content from the web, the Seesaw extension is really a fast, easy way to do it. And then, like I said, you've got all this, all your tools to work on top of it. Any questions? Are you guys excited about that one? I'm gonna come check in and see what everybody's faces are looking like. Is anybody excited?
I am.
Hi, Ann. So has anyone used the Seesaw extension before?
No, I haven't heard of that one yet.
Are you excited?
Very excited.
So I'm all about working smarter, not harder. So I think this is going to give you a way to kind of grab some of that IPG content and get it in there quickly to work on top of. Any other questions that have come up before we go on?
I don't see any questions. We can go home after that tip.
It's pretty neat. And then, you know, when the kids do come back to the classroom, they have the, I believe we push the extension out to students as well. So if they are working through Launchpad and Seesaw is open, you know, and they are on a website on a tab, they can use that to snip a reading passage or just anything that's web-based and then pull it into Seesaw to work on top of. So that's really a game changer for you. All right, so we've got, in theory, you know, we've looked at kind of how to pull these instructional resources in. So again, anything that you can grab as a link or that you can pull in as a slide or a PDF, those are all things that are going to be able to help you. This one actually has a kind of a part or whole setup here, number bond thing. So also I want to mention to you on the drawing template, and I can do this on either the multimedia section or the student template. So this has got, we're going to add a new page. So we can use all of the tools available in Seesaw to kind of create learning experiences just like we saw on the anchor chart and then explain it. So, you know, she had the, I picked the big fat one. I probably should have gone with the skinnier one. We can actually create the, you know, chart here and use the drawing tools and the tools available. And then again, record on top to explain our thinking. So I could set this up, you know, just in Seesaw, or I can grab a snip of that chart and bring it in and teach on top of it. So you've got just a lot of different ways to bring that content into Seesaw. It's just getting the hang of jumping in there and doing it. All right, so hopefully you've had some good takeaways already on how to go look at that content and pull it in. And just use the reflection extension and the snipping tool to pull that additional content as well. So we're going to take a look at a couple other things.
So we have two questions if you're ready for them.
Yeah, let's hear them.
I have made Science Google Slides presentations. How many pages can I add to one lesson? How do I record myself on the slide for non-readers?
Okay. That's actually a great question that I'd like to chat with you about. So there's a couple different ways that you can pull those slide things in. So you can have up to 20 pages when you pull in a slide deck. So hopefully we don't have, you know, slide decks that are longer than 20 pages, but that is the max that you can pull them in. So if we pulled in like the separate one that we had, like this, we're going to basically just record on top of it, and it's going to turn that into one video for me. So that's kind of what we did on the last one. So we select the video, make sure it's shareable, and then it can pull it in. It's going to break it up into all the individual pages. But if I go to record and I'm recording and moving through, it's going to package my whole recording up and put it here at the beginning for me. So that's one way to bring it in and record. I will show you some other ways if you're interested in that.
And do you lock the drawing down like you do the pictures?
On the multimedia section, I really don't worry about it a whole lot because that's more where the lesson's going to be. But if I'm including videos and other things on the student template, I generally will lock anything that I don't want kids to have to move. So especially with little learners, like if I have a shape on there and then I've got a text box, the kids will touch those on accident and maybe resize them or move them around, and then they get frustrated and they don't know how to fix it. So just locking those pieces down makes it a lot easier for them to, not get frustrated and lost in the mix. Also, if I have a page, just like I mentioned, the 3 dots is always a secret menu. If I have a page that I'm working on that I need to duplicate, you see your little 3 dot menu comes up here. So I can duplicate that page as well. If I need to, kind of create a template, but change each one a little bit, I can just create my beginning page and then duplicate the next one so I don't have to redo the background on each one. It kind of gives me like a starting space.
My science presentations are housed on NEISD Drive. Will that make it inaccessible on Seesaw?
On your Google Drive or on OneDrive? Do we know who asked that?
Gina asked that.
Gina, you wanna unmute and kind of help us understand? Gina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Some of the science presentations were uploaded to the main district website, so they're housed there, and they're also on my drive. Do I need to use one or the other to be able to share that on Seesaw with parents that may not have any ISD access?
So that's a really good question. So anything that I'm going to pull into Seesaw, I always set the permissions to anyone with the link can view before I pull it in, because kids are already logged into Seesaw. I don't want them to be prompted to have to log in again to view the Google presentation. So generally what I would do is, save a copy to my drive, change it to anyone with the link can view, and then pull it into my Seesaw. Hopefully that clarifies. I'm going to show you another way that we can add instructional pieces to the lessons as well. So hopefully your head's not spinning at this point. And while I'm getting there, Althea, do we have any other questions that have come up?
I don't see any other questions.
Okay. So I am hopping to my drive I was actually working on a lesson for STEAM before you guys, before we got together. So I want to find that lesson and I'll show you another way that we can do this. So sorry you're having to look at my drive for a second. So one of my side jobs, I guess, one of my side passions is I help support the STEAM labs that we have at 21 or 22 of our campuses. And so we're working on taking those lessons and making them virtual so kids can access them while they're working remotely. So some other ideas that you can do before you pull them into Drive is adding the audio within slides. So for first grade lessons, I've been working on this as well for science. And so it's probably a little bit more work, but I want to just make sure that you're aware of all the options. So you see on these slides that I have little voice recordings here. So when we click here, hi there, this month in our STEAM lab in Maker. So I actually have inserted audio on each of these slides. So, and I'll show you, kind of explain to you why, like the process of what I did and then why I did it. So this one, I don't want to have to, I don't want to pull it into Seesaw because this has got videos embedded in it. And if I pull it into Seesaw as the upload from Drive, it's gonna kind of flatten them, which means the videos will not be clickable anymore. So if it's something that I'm gonna teach on top of, like I'm gonna record my voice and narrate the lesson, and I can draw on top of it and all that good stuff. But if I've got things in my slide deck that I want kids to click or that are interactive like videos, I'm gonna pull those into Seesaw a different way. So for this one, again, I want this to be accessible to young learners. So I wanted to include the audio recording. And so I went to a place called onlinevoicerecorder.com, completely free. And before I did this, I actually created a folder in my Google Drive called audio files. And I turned the permissions for the folder to anyone with the link can view, because I don't want kids to have to sign in just to hear my voice recording on the slide deck. So once I create the folder audio files, I make it to anyone with the link can view. And now when I save these recordings to my Google Drive, I can just grab them and put them on my slide deck. So this is really easy to use. You don't have to sign in. I click record. Here's my recording. When I'm done, I hit stop. It asks me to save, and I'm gonna actually click save, and I've got this super cool thing on my computer that you can get from the Software Center as well, called Google Drive File Stream, and it lets me add this directly to my drive in that audio file folder. So there's my folder, click it, and then I'm gonna hop back to my slide deck, which was this one. And to put this recording in here, I'm gonna go insert, audio. If you're gonna drag audio into your slide deck before moving into Seesaw, those audio files need to live on your drive. So there's my recording. I just click it, select. It's gonna pull it in, and it opens up the format options, and I can go ahead and say play automatically. And if I want, I can turn off the icon. So the reason that I did this is because I wanted to pull this one into Seesaw in a different way. So the kids, it just allows me to pack a little bit more meat into this lesson. So they're gonna listen to me talk. I'm gonna talk through the lesson. They're gonna watch this little video, which is really cool because in slides, I can insert videos by going to insert video, and they don't have to go outside of slides to YouTube to watch it. They can watch the video play right here on the screen. And again, this is format options. So when I click video playback, I can actually tell it like only play this part of the video. And I can go ahead and set it to autoplay when presenting. So that's really nice feature that, I can push the content. So we moved through the lesson, I narrated the pages. Now we're gonna actually take this and put it on Seesaw. So like you were mentioning, I could take a science slide deck and I could add some audio and then publish it this way. So it looks a little bit different. So for this one, first, always make sure it's set to anyone with a link can view. Then I'm gonna go publish it this way. So I'm gonna go File, Publish to the Web. If the first time you do it, it'll say, you'll have a little button that says Publish. I don't want this one to auto advance. So because I want them to have time to watch the video before it goes on to the next page. So I'm gonna have them click on each page. So I'm just gonna leave these off, and I'm gonna copy this link, and then we're gonna go pull that into Seesaw so you can see what that looks like. So I'm gonna take that one off, and let's pull our presentation in so you can see the difference. So instead of pulling in for Drive this time, I'm gonna go to Link, and I'm gonna drop this lesson in as the link. And I want you to see the difference in how this publishes. So that's why I put the little tap icon to make sure they know to tap the screen to go on. So let's go ahead and practice. I have to give it a name and type something there, and then we're gonna save it so you can see what this looks like. I'm sorry if I have to move that real quick. All right, so when we put it in as a published link, this is how it's different. So they're gonna click twice, but then it opens up in this whole view. Hi there. This month in our STEAM lab in Makerspace, we'll be talking about something very important that we're going to need to know for the rest of the year. The topic this month is teamwork. Teamwork is super important when we are working in the STEAM lab, Makerspace, and any other part of our life. Let's dive in and learn more. All right, so it opens up in that published view instead of having the kids having to go. It's just another way to put the content in to deliver it. So the videos will autoplay. I can add those auditory directions for them, all that good stuff. So that was probably a lot of information. Any questions or head spinning out there?
So is there a way to add Discovery Ed videos like this, or can we only use public videos?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if you put in the directions, go open Discovery Ed first and then come back and click this. I can't say with 100% conviction that that would work. I would say test it because I haven't tried that. I haven't tried embedding it this way, but I'm thinking if Discovery Ed is open, well, no, because in Discovery Ed, I mean, when I'm putting these videos in the slides, whoops, let me get back to that one. When I put the videos in this slide, I went to insert video. So I can add the videos from YouTube, or I can add them by URL, which is the YouTube URL, or videos that I have in my drive. But I don't think you can generate a link to the video from Discovery Ed, can you? I don't know. This would be a good time for someone to talk.
No idea.
The only thing I could think of was like screencasting it, but depending on the length, because it's 5 minutes or less for free. So
Yeah.
There are links for Discovery Ed, but they usually don't work unless you open the app first. I was just wondering if maybe this would be a way around that.
I would try it, Gina. I mean, I haven't tested it, but I find new things out every day that I didn't know worked, because I test it. So give it a go and share the love and let people know if it does work. That would be super exciting. Any other questions before we look at some more cool stuff?
Well, maybe I think might have went past the permissions pretty quick. Do you want to explain how you do that permissions part? About sharing with anyone with this link? Because that's very important as far as sharing, especially with parents.
So anything, absolutely anything that lives in your drive is going to have permissions to it. So, and this is going to be super important because you don't want to ever share something with someone and they get this request access screen. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is like I have my audio file folder. So if I create a folder and I set the permissions for the folder. So you guys see my folder right now I'm pointing at. I'm going to right click on it. And hopefully any minute now, the permissions will come up. Yep, I can go to share. And I can actually kind of pre-program this folder so that anything that I put in this folder will be the same sharing settings. So by default, most things in your Google Drive are set to either A, restricted only you can see, or B, only people within Northeast can see. And when I'm pulling them into Seesaw, again, we want the process to be smooth and easy. We don't want kids to have to be prompted to sign in again to request access to things. So just because I change it to, well, let me back up. So when I come, when I come here, when I first create a folder or I first add something to my drive, it's going to be set to, come on, computer. And Althea, I did get kicked out of one of my PDs earlier today, so just FYI, if that happens, just to stay calm, I will get back. So normally, it's set to restricted or Northeast. So what that means is when you're sharing that file, Google's going to want to check with the user to say, hey, are you from Northeast? Prove it. And we don't want that to happen when we're publishing things to Seesaw. It doesn't mean that anybody can go and find it in your drive. It just means that when I change it to public, anyone with a link, or I'm sorry, I changed my whole folder to anyone with the link can find and view. It just means if anyone I share the link with can go and have access to that. So again, when I change those permissions, I have the ability over here to decide, can the people that I give access to with the link, can they view it or edit it? And usually I just leave it on view. So the nice thing about creating like a folder to put things in is because like with those audio files, anything that I put in this folder now is going to have those same permissions. Same things for my Zoom recordings. I have a folder for my distance learning lessons, and all my Zoom recordings that go in there from lessons I teach are automatically set to anyone with the link can view. So if you're adding audio files or you're adding, you know, Zoom recordings, anything that lives in your drive, you always want to make sure those sharing settings are set first. Is that what you meant, Althea?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the presentation, you know, published to the web, that's another great way to use that link feature. This next slide is pretty busy, but I just want to make sure that you understand like all the tools available on the drawing canvas. So some of these are relatively new, but I just want you to know where to find everything. So over here on the left side of your screen up at the top, this is when you go into the drawing tool. So anytime you're working in the drawing tool, you can click right here, this little square to zoom full screen. So what that zoom full screen means is if these tools are in the way, your drawing tools, it'll get rid of them, which is kind of nice because sometimes I've actually started creating a activity and then I got almost done and I realized, oh no, I put the teaching part in the student template. And so I actually, you know, hid the tools by going to Zoom and just took a snip and then moved it to the multimedia section. So, you know, hard lessons learned along the way. So you can zoom in and out on your screen if you need to get bigger or smaller, and kids can do this as well. This is full screen. This is like a plus just to get closer zoom. Seesaw also has the magic undo buttons. And so I think that's really important to talk with kids about if they make a mistake. And this is the same button in Google as they get older. So anytime you make a mistake in Seesaw or Google Classroom, if you hit the magic undo, you can undo it, or this one is the redo if you know, accidentally undid it and you want to redo it. Your labels are over here. And so when you pull those labels out, you can, you know, add text. If your text gets long, you enter just to get, you know, go to the next line just like you would anywhere. I can change the color of my labels by using the color slider that usually lives over here. The voice recording is going to be where you're going to record on top of something. So if I'm wanting it to be a part of this, you know, whatever's on my screen, I'm going to use this. If I want to do it as a video instead, I'm going to go here to the camera. So on the camera, this is a brand new feature out this summer. We can add and upload multiple photos. So let me go back to my canvas. So let's go edit just so we can see where we're at. So let's drawing canvas is where these tools live. So let me just show you one quick thing about your text tool too. All right, so once I type in my text, I can click my 3 dots and I can change the style. So I can go different styles like that. I can change the text. I can change the color by using my color slider. You also have the, you know, centering, justifying left, justify right. The order I talked about, you can make that text a link to something if you want, or you can duplicate it. And then of course the locking feature. So we can always drag text around and then use the color slider to change if we need to. So the record I talked about, that's recording on top. In the camera button now, you have the ability to add photos. So this is the camera, first one, the photo is if I'm going to take photos. The second one is the video feature that I test drove for you guys a little earlier and remember with your video feature, you can resize those down and move them now. So it can be just part of your lesson and not the whole lesson. We can also upload photos that we have on our computer saved. But remember, you can also snip and use the extension to grab photos from the web and then copy and paste them in. So those are additional features that are available there. You also have the ability to add shapes and change background, like I mentioned, and the ability to just drop links on that canvas as well. So hidden over here in your 3 dots is your shapes, your background, and then if you just want to like drop a link, if I put like a link to a YouTube video or whatever, it's going to make a small preview image, and but I can put that on my canvas as well. So just kind of a neat feature. This is the caption tool, which is another way to add directions, page-specific directions to the activity. So I can actually record a voice caption or type it here to give kids specific directions for that activity. It's kind of hidden, so like when I record, it doesn't really jump out at you. So there's my recording. You see like the caption has a little blue line on it now. So the other thing that I have been playing with lately that I'm pretty stoked about is I'm going to go to Google Images, and I'm just going to borrow a speaker icon. And I'm going to I tried this one earlier, so I know it's okay to use. So I'm going to actually kind of use that video thing that I showed you guys earlier. So I'm going to pop that in there, get rid of my text box, and I'm going to actually record my directions as a video with this. So, hey guys, you're going to do blah, 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 blah on this page. So it's going to pack that up in that video. I can size it down, and now I can park that kind of in the corner of my activity and get rid of that original speaker icon. So it just becomes more visible for kids rather than down here. We used to do like drop a shape and have it pointing to that caption tool, but I think even with that, kids were missing that, hey, I need to click that. So I really like this new feature where I can just drop that icon onto the canvas to give the kids directions on what to do. All right, questions up to this point?
Yes, there are some questions. Let's see. Can you go over what's on the Seesaw homepage?
You mean when you're actually in the class?
Mary Ann, do you want to add more to that question?
Like when you first click on Seesaw, it has like the journal, activities, and like parent notification, like all that stuff.
Sure. So every class follows the same format. This is not editable, negotiable. So when you first land on a class, you land on the journal. The journal is where everything that's ever been posted in that class lives. So I can scroll down, it goes forever. We did ask you guys in the Launch Your Distance Classroom course to make sure to use the distance learning your homeroom class is really just the landing page for your lesson. So we shouldn't be doing activities in this class, but if you hop into any of my other Seesaw classes, this would be where I would look at all student work. So it's kind of like Twitter or Facebook, like you could spend hours scrolling through. You also have the calendar navigation here, which you can click and actually scroll through the calendar and look at work by date. So it'll tell you how many items were posted on that date, and you can go click that date to see those items that were posted. So it's a really nice way to kind of navigate and find student work when you're wanting to get back to it. Over here on the right, important things you need to know, your wrench is your class settings. So if you need to look at, change the color, if you need to add students that you got in, just enrolled, you can add them by ID there. You can, make sure that students can, like and comment. You can come down and invite families here. So all the settings and the magic for the class happens here. I do really encourage you, if you're not real familiar with Seesaw, to use folders, because folders are going to really help you with filtering to find student work later. And then your TEKs are already in there as well. That's a completely different class, but if that's something you're interested in, put that on your feedback form, because I've got a whole class on that as well. So settings, we talked about journal. The activity page is where your activities live that the students are going to do. So when kids land in Seesaw, they should be coming into the activity, the light bulb to do the activity. So they'll click add response, and that's where they go to actually do the work that you're pushing out. So just hop into my class just to show you something. So on my activity page, I, as the teacher as well, am going to see if I have kids that have completed things. So on my activity page, I can actually go in and review student work there as well. So the activity page is where things are posted for students to do. Your inbox is where your messages happen. So that's where you can message your families or any parents that are have already connected to your class. And then you also get notifications here if you've got work that's pending approval. So messages are from families. Notifications are work waiting for you to look at. And then your skills is where you're going to go to look at your student progress if you're using the skills feature. So again, that's a whole nother shebang. So I mentioned the folders. Folders are really helpful. So this is the journal. This is all my classes work. But if I want to go filter down to look at one kid's work, if I click on the student's name and you see the little folder icon, I can then click that and say, I just want to look at this student's math work. So I can filter down and just look at the math content that student has posted. I can also do that for my class. So if I just want to look at my class's work in one specific area, I can go to that folder and filter that journal view down into just the things in that particular folder. So the last parts of this page are down here on the right. If you have families that are not connected, this is where you're going to go to connect with those families. So I go to families and it'll show me who's connected and who's not. If they're not connected, I can just put their mobile number in and it'll send them a text, or I can put their email and it'll send them an email to request that they join the family app on their side. All right, well, I've got hopefully that gives you a little bit more information on kind of where things are at on the journal, but I've got a few more goodies for you. Are we okay to move on, Althea?
We do have a question. Is there a library?
Yeah.
No, I have. Let me get the question before that. If a child has posted work to the journal on the home page, is there a way to move it to the appropriate folder? And then I have another question after that.
Okay, so anything that comes into Seesaw, of course, you can like, comment, or leave a private teacher comment. There's not a way to really move things from. So this is a Seesaw class here, right? These are Seesaw folders. So my folders are very content specific. So like addition stories, blending phonemes, it's very specific to the skills I'm working on. If a student puts something in the wrong folder, I can click edit folders and move what folder that work is going to be stored in. If they posted in the wrong class, like I said, they're not supposed to post in homeroom, and they did, what I could do is I can say, as the teacher, the student can't do this, I can come to the three dots and click share item, get that link, and then go to the other Seesaw class where that work should live and post kind of in this fashion. So I'd go post student work, put it as a link, and then green check and save it and tell it which kid that work belonged to. So if they do post to the wrong class, you can, move it with that share link. But a lot of times it's kind of a teachable moment. I feel like I will sometimes just send the work back to the student and say, hey, great job, but this needs to go in the other class, or you can go ahead and move it for them and just have that teach piece, whichever way you want. I think there was a part of that question I didn't hit, Althea.
If a child has posted work to the journal on the home page, is there a way to move it to the appropriate folder? I think you answered that.
Yeah, just with the share link. And there was a question after that?
Yes. Is there a library of Seesaw templates I can use, or do I need to create each one?
So if I come to I'm in my teacher account, I go to the plus, assign activity. That's going to take me to the activity library, and there are literally millions and millions and millions of activities out here. So there's 3 libraries here. The community is everything that's out there. The school and district are things that have been submitted for your district like by people that work in the district, if you're, other people on your campus. And then my library are activities that I have created, edited, or saved. So what I would recommend is you can look at your school and district library to get an idea what other people are doing. You can filter these libraries down using these filtering tools. I wouldn't recommend using the all subjects because it's very general. I would use this search box. So if you're, looking for an addition activity in first grade, if I type in the word, these are all things that have been contributed and created by Northeast teachers for addition and subtraction. So you got a lot to look at there, just lots of things that you can do there. Like I said, probably most of the Northeast ones, you're going to see that they've added the multimedia section and the student template. Things you find in the community, you can use and then use your curriculum content to build on top of. So again, I can filter the community to my grade level and then search my search term. And when I find, I find an activity and it's got this thing the kid's going to do, but I want to add some things from the IPG to it. All I'm going to do is Heart's going to move it to my library, but it's also going to let me click the 3 dots and copy and edit. So I can take her work and like you see, there's no teach piece to it. So now I can pull something from my IPG or resources and add it to the activity to teach. And then I can even come here and add to this if I want. So I can add additional pages to kind of develop the lesson a little bit more. So Seesaw is completely free. There are people that are selling things, Seesaw on the web, but there's really no need to pay for anything. Everything is available, accessible, and there are some really fantastic, rich activities that are out there that you can just take and add to for your instructional purposes. All right.
Another question, when you approve something, are you approving that it has been completed and graded or that they just turned it in?
Approving is just like allowing the work to move to the journal. So when I approve something, it doesn't get seen on the journal page until I approve it. But you don't have to accept poor work. And I tell this story a lot, but when I first started using Seesaw as a teacher, my kids were like silly and they made fart sounds and I sent, I had a lot of conversations with kids. I deleted items, never delete items without having a conversation with the kid about why you're deleting it. But anything that a student turns in, you have the ability. So I went into my Seesaw class, there was a little red bar down here that said, you have items waiting for approval. What I would do is look at the work and then I can come down here and do a comment and actually even add a voice comment and say, you need to look at this part again. And then instead of approving it, send it back to the student. So that way you give the student another chance to look at that work again and make some changes and improvements to it.
Well, maybe this would be a good point to add about the rating the skills too.
Yeah, so skills are probably a little bit more in depth because I want to show you some screencasting and then have time for you to, be able to fill out the questionnaire. But when you're assigning activities, like the skills are already there for you. All you have to do is attach them to your activities. And this is a really great way for you to track student progress over time. So when I go to assign the activity, I'm going to find my Seesaw class that I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to go to Edit Student Folder Skills. You can choose to assign an activity to all the kids, or you can deselect and just choose specific kids. You can go ahead and pre-program an activity to go directly into a specific folder. I can also direct things to go to a private teacher folder. So if I'm doing like an activity that I want to use to assess the kids, but I don't necessarily want it to go to their journal for parents to see, I can set that up to go to this private teacher folder, which I think is really nice. And then the last option is skills. So whatever grade level your Seesaw class is, those are the skills that are in your Seesaw skills package within the class. So it's a really long list. So what I would do is search by keyword. And then when you find your keyword, you're going to go ahead and just select it. You can select up to 5 skills and then green check and assign it. And you also, I'm sorry, I have to move my bar again. You also have the ability to schedule activities. So you don't have to push all the activities for the week out. I can actually click schedule and I can say day by day when I want these activities to push out at exactly what time. So that's a really nice feature to have too. So when the activities get turned in, let me see if I have one here with skills on it. So when activities come in that I've attached skills to, when I go to review the student's activity, the skills are actually right here underneath, and I've already rated this one, but you just rate it by clicking on the stars. So if five stars would mean they're really doing well, 1 or 2 stars means, you know, they're kind of struggling with that. But the reason why this is so helpful is because if I go back to my class, it really lets me go to that skills tab and say, you know, look through this particular skill and figure out, oh, my class is really, I'm having I see a lot of yellows and reds. I really need to work on that. And there's lots of ways to filter those skills down. But again, that's probably a whole hour, another hour class. You know, if you want to learn more about that, definitely put that on there and I'll put it on the calendar to help you learn more about it. But it's a really cool feature to help drive your instruction and have that, gather that data. All right, so I think just a couple more big points I want to make with you before we wrap it up. So again, some of the tools that I mentioned that you can build on top of is inserting those videos. So I thought this was a great example. She's showing how to play a math game and then putting a question, but here's a video where she's actually demonstrating. So you can use that video tool for just a multitude of purposes. And remember, you can use different devices to record. So I have Seesaw on my phone, I have Seesaw on my iPad, and I have Seesaw on my computer. So it might be a little hard to record something like this on my computer, but I could certainly set up my iPad or my phone and add that to my Seesaw activity from that. So that's an option for you as well. And then making the little cards talk where we did with the math problem I showed you. You also can, like I mentioned, add multiple links to a page. So if I want to, kind of the choice boards we talked about last year, we would build those in slides and then pull them into Seesaw. If you want to send kids to like a safe YouTube video here, and then you want them to go to a website to practice with it, you can insert those links directly into the Seesaw canvas now. And you can put those links in by going to the 3 dots and inserting link. Or you can insert them into shapes, images, or text boxes by clicking the magic 3 dots once you've inserted those things. So you really can, you know, build a choice board right there or a virtual classroom, Bitmoji classroom right there on the canvas. We looked at the draw and record across multiple pages. So when I pull in that really big separating numbers math problem, I recorded, you know, using all the slides, and it packages them all together for me into one video and puts it at the very top. So that's a really nice feature. The last thing I want to share with you is using web resources to teach. So we talked a lot in the fall about using like Screencastify, and Screencastify during the beginning of COVID was offering a free subscription. For educators, they have since gone back to non-free paid subscription. So you can still use Screencastify for up to 5-minute videos, but you have Zoom as a paid feature, and Zoom pretty much does the same thing. So you could start a fake meeting, share your screen, record, do the lesson, and then create basically a screencast video for that. Also, there's a Loom for education. Loom offers educators a free screen recording tool. You have to, and I have the link somewhere in here for you. I'll make sure you see it before we leave. They'll store their videos for you on their website, and you can grab those videos by link as well. And you also have Screencast-O-Matic. So anything that you can pull up on your computer, you can essentially use as a teaching canvas. So Smart Learning Suite, Smart Notebook lessons. These are lessons that I created with the Math Learning Center, which I linked here for you on these virtual math manipulatives. So these are just some great things that I can project on my computer and teach with. So I'll show you just kind of what this looks like. If I'm going into the Math Learning Center, it's loading, loading, loading. Sorry, I have to keep moving that. So these are all basically virtual math manipulatives that you can use on your computer and kind of set up your teaching canvas and add that instructional piece. So as long as you're delivering content, you're doing your job. So like these are maybe my number frames. So I'm going to use the web app, and all of these Math Learning Center ones kind of function the same way. So your manipulatives are going to be over here on the left. You just click to pull them out onto the canvas, drag your manipulatives out. I personally like Screencastify. It's, you know, 25 bucks a year, and I think it's worth it for me, but you can use Loom for free. But basically when you're screen recording, you're just creating a little mini lesson, just like you would do up at your board. You're just recording it, and then we're adding it to Seesaw. So I can, like I said, your manipulatives are here. I've got drawing tools over here. And then when I'm ready to record, if I use Screencastify or if I'm recording in Zoom, whatever, I'm going to go ahead and record and share my screen. And then I can go ahead and I'm teaching the lesson. I'm teaching the lesson and it's recording everything I'm doing. So it's just, and then once I'm done, I can stop sharing. And Screencastify is nice because it saves it to my drive, but it is $25 for a year subscription. So the nice thing is with this is I can get that shareable link and then go to my Seesaw activity and add that as the instructional piece in the multimedia section. So that, like I said, you can do it with Zoom, you can do it with Loom, or you can do it with Screencastify or Screencast-O-Matic. So just taking anything that you can show on your screen and teaching with it. Any questions on that, or are we okay?
I don't see any questions.
Okay. So the virtual math manipulatives are there for you. I apologize, I changed the formatting on this right before the PD, and I think it made it a little wonky. So remember, if you are, we have some free, these were things that we shared in the spring, but these are some resources that basically you can use on top of that IPG content. So if you can't find something that really helps you, these are some other resources. If you are using we talked about that, how to get those kids to those Launchpad resources. This is the video right here in the red that you can use to share with families and kids to help them understand how that process works. And we had a lot of information. I'm going to give you the link to fill out. So remember, this is going to be how you get your credit, and then I would love to answer some questions. So I saw Irene asking about the blog, and let me drop the form to you guys, and then we could just hang out and answer some questions for a little bit. So before I do that, will you guys unmute for a second? I want to ask you a question. Did you learn something valuable today?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like for show, you got something to use?
A lot.
Oh, show.
Good, yay. All right, so the Google form is there. Go ahead and click it and fill it out for me. And then I want to answer the blog, and then we'll see if we have any other questions come up. So.
Sorry about that.
So the blog, for the homeroom, we're asking you guys to use the blog because parents can't, we don't want parents to have to go into a student's Seesaw class and navigate through the journal to find the Zoom links and the information. So like this class is a great example. I've got this testing thing that a kid posted on accident. There's my Zoom links and my recordings for the week, but then we got this other stuff. We don't want parents to have to wade through a bunch of stuff. So we're asking you guys to move these things to the blog. So we move things to the blog by clicking the globe. And then you do have to enable the blog. So we only asked you guys to use the blog in your homeroom right now. But when I go to the blog view, all I'm going to see are the things that I've added to the blog. So I don't have to wade through things that got posted on accident. It just gives parents a really clean place to go find those things. So this is going to take us to the student view of the blog, but you can share that blog address and your passcode for your blog with the parents. So this is the student view of the blog. This is the public view of the blog. And so I can give parents my secret code. And they don't have to wade through all that other stuff. They just see the important stuff that I want to share with them. On the other side of the blog, I will tell you as a teacher that when I go to my blog to set up, that there's a section here called Connected Blogs, and you can actually connect to other classes. And, you know, so students can see work that kids are doing in other places. So I was a first grade teacher for a lot of years, and so I had first grade blog pals in other places across the world. And so we connected blogs by basically just sharing our blog URL. And so when my kids had finished all their station work or whatever, they, you know, had a few down minutes, they could go to the blog and look at other kids' work from around the world and comment and interact with it. So we used it. It was really neat. It's kind of like a beyond skill, but it's, you know, we did book reviews on there, and I got a lot of good ideas because I was like, oh my gosh, look what that teacher's doing. I want to try to learn that. So it's just cool exposure. So lots of cool possibilities there. Probably more than you wanted to know, but hopefully that helps. Other questions you guys have? Here's your Seesaw activity icons, by the way, on that last page. So if you learned something new, you filled out the form, you're probably exhausted. You're free to go ahead and log off and go home. I really appreciate you guys spending an hour and a half without the NI to learn, and hopefully you found it beneficial. But if you do have some questions, feel free to hang out, unmute, and ask away. I'll hang out for just a little bit.